Venezuela embassy issue that we had right here in Washington, D.C. a while back. Of course, Lee went over there. A number of people went over there and covered that. We now have with us Al Suarez and David Tornheim. They're co-directors of a documentary on the embassy protectors. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Fault Lines.
Hello.
All right, let's start here. Al, you guys put together this documentary. Let's start here. The name of the documentary, is it available? What do people need to know about this documentary for starters?
Yeah, so the documentary should be out by the end of the spring this year. They can find the principal channel on social media through YouTube. All they have to do is type Embassy Protectors, which is the title of our film, and they should be able to see our channel there.
All right.
Protectors 2020. Yeah, the actual page, like the different pages of social media is Embassy Protectors 2020. And if you go on YouTube, you just put in the word Embassy Protectors for our title, they should pop right up.
All right. So David, regarding this documentary, how did you guys get involved in the issue itself? Were you activists? Were you guys who just, are you just guys who are involved in the film industry? How did you get drawn into this situation? And I don't say drawn in a pejorative way. I say drawn in an assertive way, in that, hey, this is something that I feel drawn to. So I don't want to say it in a way that sounds negative. But how'd you get drawn into this?
We're both activists. Al was at Occupy and other activist events, and I've been doing activism for the last 20 years or so, especially in San Francisco. And I've been following Medea Benjamin. I saw that she was challenging Elliot Abrams, who was appointed to be the liaison with Venezuela, and we know him from the Bush era as a war criminal, basically. And so when I saw that, I saw what was happening. I saw people weren't getting food and water and power to the embassy, and I wanted to do what I could to help out. So I drove to D.C. from Ohio to help out, and now I came from Florida.
Okay. And Al, were you involved in the embassy protectors? The issue going on there. Were you involved in that yourself, or did you come, after it happened to film? How'd that work out?
Knew Kevin Z's and Medea Benjamin's all the way back to 2010, and knew them personally during Occupy days as well in D.C. and other areas. And I just had to go up. I was between classes. I went back to college, and I had to fly up at that point and help them after I heard what was happening. So there was no intention, nor on David nor on mine's part, to do a film about this. We just went up to try to deliver food and water to our comrades. What ended up happening was we were so outraged by how the so-called mainstream media was not covering this right, or not covering it all, that we said, no, the American people need to know the truth, and we have to do everything we can to get this film out. I just want to say that I really love your guys' shows. Your show is really quality journalism. We don't hear stuff like that in the so-called mainstream.
Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, and part of the reason is because, and it's so weird right now, what's going on. Again, I take a very unbiased position on this stuff. I don't like government intervention in other people's business generally. And I think a lot of Trump supporters, by the way, feel that way too. But when it comes to the Venezuelan issue, for instance, I see a lot of people, and I saw it when I was at CPAC, a lot of people are on the right. I'll tell you what I saw going on. It was very interesting. Venezuela was used as like the way Cuba used to be used. In other words, on the right, Cuba was like the go-to commies.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I would see a lot of pandering on the issue, where people would say like, well, we're no Venezuela. And I'm like, you know what? That's being used to promote an agenda that I think actually a lot of Trump supporters, if you asked them, if you said, okay, whatever the government is in Venezuela, do you think our government should be involved in overthrowing the government or nation building or anything? And they would say no, but they get suckered for it every single time. Because all you have to do is go, well, they're commies. And a lot of people on the right go, well, I guess that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing. So, but on the other hand, if I'm to be fair about it, I tend to see people on the left. Do you think some of the support for Venezuela is because of the Bolivarian socialist government that they have in Venezuela?
I don't know. So So Lee, if I could answer that real quick. So a lot of people talk about this in terms of like people that are involved currently in the Trump administration, like that were back from Reagan. But actually, there's an analogous to Cuba that you mentioned that goes to Kennedy, right? So just like just like Dulles deceived Kennedy over the Bay of Pigs, Bolton said, "Oh yeah, we'll go into Venezuela, we'll back these sanctions, and in 2 days Maduro will be overthrown." That's part of the reason why, in my opinion, that Bolton was fired by Trump. So there was a deception here, you know.
No, yeah, 100% agreed. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this. You know, when you talk about doing, and I've known people that have been involved in documentaries before. I have friends that have done them. And one of the issues, of course, is, time and money. You've still got to eat and still got to, pay your bills, and you've got to buy things. How difficult was that as far as the financial part of getting funding for, your documentary? Was it really expensive? Was there self-funding? Talk about that a little bit, like the bumps in the road for people who may be listening saying, I'd like to do a documentary on X. What would you tell them?
I'm still waiting from the check from Putin. No, they're always saying, "Oh, you're financed by Russia." They're leaving all these accusations in YouTube comments, and I'm like, we didn't get any of this money. We're a low budget film. We gotta go fund me. But they're always throwing these accusations to try to discredit activists.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, exactly right. That's why at least I do get a check.
Yeah, but I do know, Lee.
Last day of the month and middle of the month.
I do know over the course of time, Lee, there's been other projects that you've worked on that you had to get funding for, and it was very difficult.
It's always difficult to get funding for projects unless you kowtow to the establishment. So if I were to do the film, here's a suggestion for you as a filmmaker. You do a film. I'm going to just give you the title. You can work out the details. APAC is awesome. That's the title.
Yeah. Oh boy, there's money for that one.
Ow.
Right. If you do that film, you just pitch APAC is awesome. That's the film. Then you will find some money. That's true, right? But other than that, it's tricky. It's always tricky to get funding on projects, and period. And like I say, I'm not getting it from Putin because otherwise, I should be. By the way, if RT wants to talk to me, I got a couple great documentary projects, and just write me a big check, and we'll talk, and no problem whatsoever. They'll even be nice graphics.
I want another side of things that the Americans don't see. I'm fine with that because they're not seeing these other sides of the issues, and they're not getting to the truth either. If it's a means to get to the truth, absolutely.
Well, what about let me ask you this, Dave. What did you find? Did you learn anything? Sometimes when you start working on projects like this, you think you know a lot, and when you start working on these projects, you learn so much more. It opens your eyes. Did you find that? Did you find that you learned a lot in the process?
Absolutely, especially I just interviewed Noam Chomsky in Arizona. Al put that up, and I was listening to all of his books on tape on the way there. And then one of the things he said in the interview, he said, the U.S. gets involved in all these other countries claiming to be for humanitarian or democratic means. And he said, there's not one case where that was true. He said, just name one. I was baffled because I couldn't think of any off the top of my head.
Dave drove all the way out from Ohio to the Arizona desert to interview Chomsky for this film. So yeah, we're going throughout the country on this.
Hey, I'd drive to the desert to interview Chomsky myself. That's a big name. So we'll talk about getting the film out, your PR game, et cetera. I know that's also tough too. What's the plans? That or do you have any that you can talk about of how you'll release the film, where you're trying to get it out, and things of that nature?
Well, I have a degree in communications, so PR and marketing is part of what I do. So working with our executive producer, who's a friend of mine, Stephen Machat, who's also an activist, and former candidate, independent senator candidate down in Florida, et cetera. So he's helping us on that side of the thing, and we're going to try to get it shown in festivals and maybe sell it to a network, or maybe get it in theaters. We're all still in the preliminary phases of that, but we have almost fully accomplished the film now. We want to do some final interviews in Baltimore, Philly, New York, into early April. But by the end of the spring, we want this out there, maybe to starting online, selling the film online. But we're showing the film for free at festivals or events. But we we want to get the word out. We think the American people in the world deserve to know the truth of what happened, and there's been very limited coverage of what actually happened outside the Venezuelan embassy in D.C. and inside the embassy, except for the alternative press, you guys, etc. You've done a great job, but yeah, we really need to get the word out.
Well, when you get up and going, if you're in the DC area, you can come in the studio and certainly talk with us and hang out, and just to talk about the film
And bring the bird. There's a bird of some sort. You hear that, Garland, in the background?
Yeah, that's probably because I'm on my porch.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. It's like when Mark Sloboda comes on, there's a crow in the background. I just heard chirping, that's all.
And if he had a bunch of crows, it'd be of case